Hey, Dr. John Finn here. Welcome to the Habit Mechanic podcast. Right now, you can get my new best-selling book, Train Your Brain for the AI Revolution, at tougherminds.co.uk. The digital book, audiobook, and physical book are all available at a special price that you won't find anywhere else. Hello, Habit Mechanics. I hope that everyone has had a fantastic week, the first week of the new year, and you've started to put into practice some of those things that you want to do. But I know that's easier said than done. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. In last week's podcast, we talked about motivation, and I shared with you chapter 16 of the Habit Mechanic, which shows you, well, it explains more about what motivation is and how you can start to supercharge your own. And in that chapter, we share the FAM story iceberg, the future ambitious, meaningful story iceberg, which shows you how to create and connect your long, medium, and short-term goals. Now, ultimately, at the bottom of the iceberg, your goals for today, they're really centered around habits. Because habits, as habit mechanics know, they're driving between 98% to up to 100% when we're just running on instinct of the things that we think and do. So that's one of the big insights we've taken from modern science about how humans operate, is that most of what we're doing most of the time is mindless behavior. In other words, it's habits. Habits are automatic, semi-automatic thoughts and actions. So if we want to be successful in 2023, the key is to understand the habits that are really going to help us to be at our best and to start building more of those habits. And this is the reason why, we have the holiday period, we have the Christmas period where we get a chance to reflect, we get a chance to think about the things that we've been doing and whether those things are really helpful for us achieving our goals or not. And we set off into the new year, typically this time of year, with really good intentions about what we'd like to do. But often we fail because knowing what we'd like to do and actually doing it are very different ideas, because we don't do what we know we should do. We do what we're in the habit of doing. We all know that it's a good idea to eat 5 portions of fruit and veg a day and to walk 10,000 steps. Yeah, even if we agree with those ideas, we don't necessarily do them. We know it's not necessarily a good idea to procrastinate too much or to worry and beat ourselves up too much. Yeah, just because we know that, it doesn't stop us doing it. If we want to be at our best, we have to build better habits. The habit literature has been growing probably over the last 20 years or so. And when I looked at that literature, I wasn't happy with it. And one of the things I was most unhappy with was how habits are explained. How do habits actually work? So I couldn't find a habit model that made sense to me. So I created my own, and I will share that with you shortly. So what I'm going to share with you in this podcast is actually chapter 17 from the Habit Mechanic, which is titled Analyze and Improve Your Habits to Achieve Your Long-Term Goals in Life and Work. And in that chapter, I'm going to share what habits actually are. I'm going to share our own proprietary habit loop, which is called the T.R.A.I.T habit loop, so you can actually understand how habits actually work. We'll give you some examples of that, some examples of super habits, and some examples of destructive habits, and why destructive habits are so easy to build. And I'm also going to share with you in that chapter some what we call habit analysis tools. So we have 2 tools. One is a really in-depth dive into the kind of things that you think and you do, and it will get you thinking about yourself in a different way to how we typically think about ourselves. So to help us to do what we call intelligent self-watching. And I'm also going to share with you a second tool, which will start to get you thinking about the more helpful habits that will be useful for you to start building. So really powerful insights. Before I talk about that, I just want to talk very briefly about becoming a certified habit mechanic coach. Now, because of demand, maybe about 4 to 6 weeks before Christmas, we actually introduced this program for the first time. So we're training people to become certified habit mechanic coaches. This program's for coaches, for leaders, for HR professionals, for people managers. It's for anyone that wants to learn how to use the habit mechanic toolkit to help others to do better. We've already started training people to become certified habit mechanic coaches, and there's a range of people that have signed up for this. I'm working one-to-one with everybody to do this. For me, it's like a master's program in applied performance and leadership psychology, but without a lot of the nonsense that you have to put within master's programs. So 1, there are no prerequisites to apply. 2, it's much cheaper than a master's program. 3, it only requires about 1 hour of work from you per week. 4, you complete the training in 6 months, and you can do it a bit faster than that if you want. 5, we don't waste time learning outdated and impractical theoretical models that are no use in the real world. We only focus on practical things, so you actually learn how to use the proven, practical, science-based skills, the habit mechanic tools, to help others to be at their best. So if you want to become a certified habit mechanic coach in 2023, get in touch, contact us in the app, contact us via the website, and let's have a conversation. The places are filling up quickly, but there are still a few left. So if that sounds interesting for you, then let me know. Or if you don't want to do it right now, but you want to do it later in the year, just get in contact as well. And it would be great to have that conversation. I mentioned the app there with the Habit Mechanic University app, which is absolutely free. It's on iOS or Apple devices. You can get it in the iTunes store or the App Store. It's also on Android, so you can get it in the Google Play Store, absolutely free, the Habit Mechanic University app. The reason I'm mentioning this is, well, we've got a great community in there where people are working on their habits every day. They're creating their T plans, they're doing their daily 3-to-1 reflections and supporting each other. But I've also put the entire audio book, the Habit Mechanic audio book, available in the app for free. It'll be for a limited time only, but it's in there right now. So I shared chapter 16 of the book in the last episode of the Habit Mechanic podcast. I'm sharing chapter 17 today, but if you want to explore the full book, it's in the app. All you need to do is go to the App Store, download it, and you can listen to the full book in there. So I don't need to say any more. I'm going to transition now into chapter 17, which is going to give you a real deep dive into your habits, how they work, and give you some really simple tools you can use to start analysing your habits. Here we go. Chapter 17. Analyse and improve your habits to achieve your long-term goals in life and work. A TV commercial by sportswear brand Under Armour finished with the line, "It's what you do in the dark that puts you in the light." It showed the world record-breaking US swimmer Michael Phelps grinding and struggling through arduous winter training. Phelps was preparing for the 2016 Rio Olympics. It was his last appearance at the Games. He won 5 gold medals and a silver, making him the most decorated Olympian of all time. The commercial highlights the essential role your daily habits play in achieving your long-term goals. Let's think about how habits and goals are connected. Habits drive your goals. Your ability to achieve your future, ambitious, meaningful story will depend on your habits. Think about the story iceberg in a different way. Imagine you've turned the story iceberg on its side. The tip of the iceberg, which represents your long-term future and goals, is now on the right-hand side. The bottom of the iceberg is on the left, representing the present, today, right now, and the habits you need to develop to help you achieve your long-term goals. We all need to work on developing more helpful habits, often beginning by improving the basics like sleep, diet, and exercise. But the challenges of the modern world mean helpful habits are not always easy to build and maintain. We need to constantly work on them. Your thoughts and actions are mainly habit. To help you identify which habits will help you be at your best more often, let's think about how habits work in greater depth. First, it is important to remember that habits are all-pervading in our lives. You will hopefully recall the statistic, which is based on the work of Professor George Lakoff from University of California, Berkeley, that at least 98% of all human behaviour, how you think and what you do, is habit. This means that the vast majority of what we do and think every day is a habit. It's also important to recognise that unhelpful thinking can be a habit. A useful quote to help us understand just how powerful habits are in our lives is from William James, the founding father of American psychology. In his book, The Principles of Psychology, Volume 1, he said, "My experience of the world is what I am in the habit of attending to, doing and thinking." The good news is that becoming a habit mechanic allows you to change your habits via the process of me power conditioning, deliberately working towards being your best. Introducing the T.R.A.I.T habit loop. To help you think in detail about how habits work, I've developed the T.R.A.I.T habit loop. I created T.R.A.I.T because other habit models I've seen did not make perfect sense to me, because they didn't get to the heart of what really drives our behaviour. T.R.A.I.T does, because it's based on cutting-edge science. Time and again, it has helped people develop powerful new, sustainable habits. Let me explain T.R.A.I.T, T-R-A-I-T, in more detail. T is for trigger. Triggers are the first part of the habit loop. They remind us what to do, for better or for worse. All triggers are ultimately driven by our emotions, hence why emotional regulation is so important. But because emotions are implicit, we don't always think of them in these terms. It is easier to think of a trigger as a feeling, thought, smell, sound, or sight. Smartphones are among the most powerful triggering devices ever created. They provide endless visual, oral, and physical triggers and are always close by. Here is another example. Think about walking into a coffee shop. Triggers are all around you. There is high energy, tempting, ape brain friendly food strategically placed when you order your drink. You might have gone to the coffee shop because you were feeling low on energy, so you will be tempted to make an impulsive purchase of a sugary treat. R is for routine. Before I explain this, I want to introduce the AI in T.R.A.I.T, because the routine part of the loop will then make more sense. AI is for ape incentive. The ape, alive perceived energy brain, is the driving force behind our behaviour. So habits connected to survival, maintaining and enhancing social status, and saving energy are easy to build because these factors are most rewarding for the ape brain. For example, stereotyping is connected to staying alive. We quickly judge, within a tenth of a second, who is friend or foe. For example, we quickly, and possibly inaccurately, make judgments about some people we have only just met. Thinking habits focusing on how you are perceived by important people. We can mindlessly spend a lot of time thinking about what important people in our lives think about us. This can include worrying and beating ourselves up. Thinking habits connected to conserving energy. We can default to high-calorie food choices when hungry, or resist expending energy that does not result in a fast reward. When you feel hungry, you might eat an unhealthy, sugary snack loaded with calories because it is more energy efficient than eating a piece of fruit. Or you might avoid exercise by driving to places that you could walk to. Or stop mentally challenging work to do something less mentally challenging that will consume less energy. For example, stop writing a report to check your phone. More on R is for routine. A trigger is always followed by a routine. The action you take or how you think
is an automatic or semi-automatic response to the trigger. For example, your phone buzzes, trigger, you check it, see a message from your partner, and respond, routine. The routine is driven by an A.I.T incentive. You respond quickly to stay in your partner's good books. This might be a subconscious attempt to manage your partner's perception, the P in A.I.T, of you. For example, by replying quickly, you're showing them how important they are to you. Sometimes the A.I.T brain can gain more than one reward from a habit. Imagine your phone buzzes on the desk whilst you're listening to a presentation. Your routine is to stop and check your phone. This probably takes a lot less energy, the E in A.I.T, than concentrating on the presentation. And it might be a message from a friend that makes you feel good about yourself, rewarding the perception, the P in A.I.T, part of the A.I.T brain, too. That is, your friend must like you because they are taking the time to message you. T is for training. The more you practice a habit, the more neurons in your brain become dedicated to it. More neurons make habit loops more powerful and easier to execute. 8 brain-friendly habits. You can build new habits, but this ability is a double-edged sword. On one hand, it is beneficial because you can build more new, helpful habits. On the other, it can be damaging because you can develop more unhelpful habits. The latter is easier than ever in the context of the VUCA world and the learning war, described in Chapter 6. 8 brain-friendly habits, which are typically unhelpful for modern life, are easier to build because the 8 brain is so central to the habit-building process. These 8 brain-friendly habits can become addictive, meaning you continue to do them despite their negative consequences for your health, happiness, and performance. These can often be the seeds of destructive habits that I mentioned earlier, Chapter 8, Part 7, because they unlock lots of other unhelpful habits and behaviours. Here are some examples. Example 1. Trigger, feeling hungry. Routine, eating an unhealthy snack that tastes good. A.I.T incentive, getting energy into your body fast. Training. If this behaviour is repeated often enough to become an unhelpful habit, you will gain weight, feel worse about yourself, and increase your risk of long-term health problems. Example 2. Trigger. Feeling frustrated at missing your favourite TV show because you need to go to bed. Routine. Staying up late to watch the next episode. A.I.T incentive. It takes less energy and is more immediately rewarding to watch the next episode rather than going upstairs to bed. Training. If this behaviour is repeated often enough to become an unhelpful habit, you will not get enough sleep and will feel tired the next day, have reduced productivity, do less exercise, eat worse food, and increase your long-term health problems. Example 3. Trigger. Feeling bored whilst doing a challenging piece of work. Routine. Checking your phone. A.I.T incentive. It takes less energy and is more immediately rewarding to check your phone rather than complete your work. Training. If this behaviour is repeated often enough to become an unhelpful habit, you will have reduced productivity, need to work longer hours, become more easily distracted, and find it more difficult to do your best work. Example 4. Trigger. Feeling annoyed by something that happened at work. Routine. Having a cigarette. A.I.T incentive. Fast and energy-efficient way to relieve stress. Training. If this behaviour is repeated often enough to become an unhelpful habit, you will increase your risk of long-term health problems, develop stained teeth and bad breath, and become addicted. Example 5. Trigger. Feeling stressed by your workload. Routine. Drinking alcohol. A.I.T incentive. Fast and energy-efficient way to relax. Training. If this becomes an unhelpful habit, you will have poorer sleep quality, potentially leading to poorer brain function and higher stress levels the following day. In turn, this might make it more difficult to be efficient and effective at work and lead you to eat unhealthy food because it makes you feel better in the short term. This will all lead to increased risks of long-term health problems. Example 6. Trigger: feeling unhappy about yourself. Routine: buying some new clothes. APE incentive: fast and energy-efficient way to change the way others perceive you, meaning you feel better. Training: if this behaviour is repeated often enough to become an unhelpful habit, you might get deeper into debt and feel worse about yourself in the long term. Example 7. Trigger: you receive an email from your boss that gives you some negative feedback about your work, which your ape brain takes personally. Routine: beating yourself up. Ape incentive: the ape brain is making you aware that your social status, how you are perceived by others, is under attack. Training: if this behaviour is repeated often enough to become an unhelpful habit, you will become really good at worrying about what other people think of you. Become an expert at looking for personal slights, or what I would call perception threats, and become an expert at beating yourself up. This might lead to long-term mental health problems. Test: if it is helpful, write down what T.R.A.I.T stands for to test your memory. Reflection: if it is helpful, why not write down one of your unhelpful habits using the T.R.A.I.T framework? What is the trigger? What is the routine? What is the APE incentive or incentives? What is the training, that is, if you keep practicing this habit, what do you get really good at? Habit Mechanic Habit Analysis Tools. In-depth habits reflection. Now that you understand more about how habits work, you can begin to analyse your own in more detail and do what I call an in-depth habits reflection exercise. This builds on the 8-brain test you completed earlier. Remember, habits are the foundation of your FAM story iceberg. You will fail if your habits are not helpful to achieving your daily, weekly and monthly goals. Creating more helpful habits that will make it easier to make progress, succeed and thrive. To help you understand which new habits would be helpful to build this month, score yourself for each of the following statements from 1 to 10, where 1 equals never and 10 equals always. Adding notes and specific examples next to the statements that really resonate with you will be useful. Statement 1. I give into temptation and act impulsively. Give yourself a score from 1 to 10, where 1 equals never and 10 equals always. Statement 2. I do things I regret. Give yourself a score from 1 to 10. Statement 3. I jump to conclusions. Give yourself a score from 1 to 10. Statement 4. I have no discipline to keep going when things get difficult. Give yourself a score. Statement 5. I have no discipline to stay on a task and complete it. Give yourself a score. Statement 6. I stay in my comfort zone and this stops me from being my best. Give yourself a score. Statement 7. I cannot resist temptations to quit. Give yourself a score. Statement 8. I do not continue to work when the reward is a long time in coming. Give yourself a score. Statement 9. I beat myself up when I have messed up. Give yourself a score. Statement 10. I am overconfident and this has unhelpful consequences. Give yourself a score. Statement 11. I make excuses for my bad behaviour. Give yourself a score. Statement 12. I do not push myself out of my comfort zone because I do not want to fail. Give yourself a score. Statement 13. I avoid taking personal responsibility for the quality of my own work. Give yourself a score. Statement 14. I let people down by not completing tasks on time to expected standards. Give yourself a score. Statement 15. I worry about things I cannot control. Give yourself a score. Now consider your scores. Identify the highest scores and the connected habits. Now, try to write down a typical way you use your most unhelpful habit. For example, I beat myself up when I make a mistake. Don't worry if you are not sure what to write. I will help you to think about your unhelpful habits in even more detail shortly. Super habits. Now that you have reflected on some of your unhelpful habits, I want to revisit the super habit concept I mentioned earlier. Chapter 8, Part 7. Through Tougher Minds work with over 10,000 people, I've repeatedly seen a set of core habits, super habits, that seem to be more powerful than other habits in helping people be healthier, happier, and at their best. When people develop super habits, many other aspects of their lives become easier because these habits trigger other helpful habits and behaviours. They enable people to manage horribly unhelpful emotions and make the type of personal progress, habit mechanic development, essential for feeling happy and fulfilled. Super habits make it easier for people to achieve the following outcomes. 1. Improving diet, exercise and sleep for better brain performance. 2. Better stress management. 3. Spending less time thinking unhelpful thoughts. 4. Being focused to drive productivity, creativity and problem solving. 5. Building and maintaining robust levels of confidence. 6. Performing well under pressure. 7. Better leadership for improved individual and team performance. All of these lead to better work-life balance. Finding your super habits will help you unlock your potential. I have developed and refined my super habits over many years. They naturally develop and change as you improve your habit mechanic intelligence and develop more helpful habits. Here is an overview of my current super habits and the other helpful habits and behaviours each one triggers. They might sound simple, but they have emerged through many years of habit mechanic training and trial and error. Remember, there is a huge difference between knowing these things are helpful and turning them into habits. Daily example. 1. Morning run activates my brain and means it is easier to think clearly, focus and be productive. Triggers healthy eating habits. Contributes to my overall daily exercise, which makes sleeping easier at night. Helps me manage my weight. 2. Completing a daily tea plan. Makes it easier for me to get the most out of my day. Triggers a lot of the productivity habits I have developed. Having a productive day makes me feel better about myself at the end of the day and helps me better manage work-life balance. 3. 5-minute lunchtime walk where I deliberately focus on my breathing. Helps me manage stress, be productive in the afternoon, finish work on time, better manage work-life balance, sleep better. 4. End of day planning for the next day combined with a written reflection on the current day. Helps me manage stress, see progress, build confidence, finish work on time, activates my evening routine and habits, helps me sleep better. Weekly examples. Weekly reflection and planning for week ahead. Improves my motivation, productivity and confidence. Helps activate my daily super habits. Monthly or bi-monthly examples. 1. Review and update my FAM, Future Ambitious Meaningful Story. Improves my motivation, productivity and confidence. Helps activate my daily and weekly super habits. 2. Complete the Team Power Leadership Self-Assessments, which are in step 4 of this book. Improves my leadership, helps the business, my team and me fulfill our potential, helps activate my daily and weekly super habits. Because of life's ebbs and flows, being at our best is an ongoing journey. This means my super habits are not set in stone, because I am still learning how to be my best. Also, as my life changes, I might have to adjust some of my super habits so they better serve me in my new life circumstances. For example, going into the office every day versus working remotely. It is not essential for you to understand your super habits right now. You will discover them over time. The first step to uncovering your super habits is developing more helpful habits in tandem with developing your habit mechanic intelligence. That is what this book is designed to help you do. So, next I want you to complete an exercise designed to help you begin identifying your helpful habits. Some you will already have developed, but others you will need to purposefully develop. Helpful habits reflection. The helpful habits reflection is designed to help you build on what you learned from the in-depth habits reflection. This helped you think about your unhelpful habits. So at this point, it might be useful to reflect on your in-depth habits reflection notes and scores. To complete the helpful habits reflection, follow these instructions. Below are 13 statements. Listen to them and choose your current position for each one from this list of 3 options. A. Not a priority. B. I already do this well. C. I need to do this better. Statement 1. I reflect on my diet, exercise and sleep and plan to make daily improvements in these areas. Choose your current position. A. Not a priority. B. I already do this well. And C. I need to do this better. Statement 2. At the end of the day, it would be helpful to reflect and highlight what went well and what I can improve tomorrow. Choose your current position. A, B or C. Statement 3. At the end of every week, it would be helpful to think about what went well and plan how I can improve next week. Choose your current position. A, B or C. Statement 4. From time to time, it would be helpful to think about my future and set long, medium and short-term goals to focus my efforts and achieve my future ambitions. Choose your current position. A, B or C. Statement 5. It would be helpful to regularly update my yearly and monthly calendar to add in important work and life activities. Choose your current position. A, B or C. Statement 6. It would be helpful to recognise when I am stressed and successfully plan to reduce my stress. Choose your current position. A, B or C. Statement 7. It would be helpful to monitor my confidence levels and successfully build up confidence in areas where it is low. Choose your current position. A, B or C. Statement 8. It would be helpful to recognise when my emotions are unhelpful and successfully keep them under control. Choose your current position. A, B or C. Statement 9. It would be helpful to successfully plan to improve my productivity levels. Choose your current position. A, B or C. Statement 10. It would be helpful to successfully plan to improve my learning and performance in areas where I want to improve. Choose your current position. A, B or C. Statement 11. It would be helpful to successfully plan to improve my performance under pressure. Choose your current position. A, B or C. Statement 12. It would be helpful to plan out my day to improve my productivity. Choose your current position. A, B or C. Statement 13. It would be helpful to learn how to become an even better leader. Choose your position. A, B or C. Now that you have reflected, give each area you have rated C, I need to do this better, a priority score. 1 equals lowest, 10 equals highest. If it is helpful, write down some reflections about what you have learned. Make a note of the helpful habits you already have that make your life easier, but also begin to consider which new helpful habits you could develop to replace your unhelpful ones. Remember, you don't need to highlight your super habits yet. These will emerge over time as you develop your habit mechanic intelligence. The first step to uncovering your super habits is developing more helpful habits. Your Me Power wish list. By reflecting on your habits, you will have identified the most significant challenge or challenges, problem or problems your 8-brain poses. You may now wish to add any important habits you have identified to your Me Power wish list. We started to create this in Chapter 12. Remember, it is only realistic to make one tiny change at a time or build one tiny new habit at a time. Nobody has the capacity to completely overhaul and change their behaviour in one go. It is a gradual process. Habit mechanic language and tools you have learned in Chapter 17. Core language, trait, trigger, routine, ape incentive training, habit loop. A unique habit model created to help people understand how their habits work. Self-reflection tools, in-depth habits reflection. In-depth exercise to help you begin identifying your most unhelpful habits. Helpful habits reflection. An exercise to help you reflect on which new habits it would be most helpful to build. Please refer to Figure 17.3 in the accompanying PDF to see how your habit mechanic intelligence igloo is building up. Next, we'll look at how our behavioural science-based 9 action factors framework can supercharge the habit building process.
So that's your habits. That's how they work. Hopefully that's giving you an insight into some of the habits that are helping you to be at your best, but also some that you'd like to develop so that you can make it easy for yourself to be healthy, happy, and at your best. As I said, the full book is in the Habit Mechanic University app. And also just want to point, these are some of the areas that you might be thinking about. So if you want to improve your sleep, your diet, and your exercise, or just one of those areas, Chapter 19 in the Habit Mechanic covers all that, and it shows you how to actually build better habits in all those areas. If you just recognise that it would be good to improve your motivation, listen to the last podcast or look at Chapter 16 in the book, where you can see how to create what we call a FAM story. If you recognise that it'd be helpful for you to be better at managing stress and just thinking more helpfully in general, we've got tons of tools in Chapter 22 of the book that show you how to do that. If you want to improve your confidence, you'll go to Chapter 23. We've got loads of tools in there that show you how confidence actually works and how to start building it up. If you want to get better at performing under pressure in any context, whether it's a work context or a sports context or something else, we've got some tools in Chapter 24 that will allow you to do that, build better habits for performing under pressure. If you want to improve your focus on productivity and work-life balance in general, check out Chapter 25. We've got some great tools in there that allow you to do that and help you to understand more about what we call brain states. And if you want to improve your leadership, if you want to improve your team's performance, if you want to improve the culture, remember all those things are driven by habits, just like individual behaviour is. Your organisation's behaviour is driven by habits. So your brain runs you, habits run your brain, and it's harder than ever to get to build helpful habits that help you to be at your best. It's the same at organisational level. Brains run the business, or they run the team. Habits run brains, and it's harder than ever for your people to develop habits that help them, the team, and the business to be at its best. But if you're interested in improving leadership, go to step 4 of the book, which is the Chief Habit Mechanics section. There are multiple chapters in there and tools that help you to improve your team's performance, improve your performance as what we call a team power leader, but also to improve the culture of an organisation, which again is driven by habits. So I hope that's been insightful. As ever, if you have any questions, just email us via the website, contact me via the app. As I said, we are still taking applications to become a certified habit mechanic coach. So if that sounds interesting to you, just get in touch and we can have a conversation. So thank you so much for listening. Enjoy the rest of the week and keep checking for new podcasts, because they'll be coming much more regular than they were in 2022. Stay safe and remember,
you're only ever one habit away. Thanks for listening to the Habit Mechanic podcast. If you liked it, please subscribe and tell someone else about one of the ideas or insights that you found most interesting.